I'm going to set a really realistic scene for high ticket business owners. You've got a team of closers, good people, you've got a great product, but results are all over the place. They're up and down every single month. One month, great. Next month, terrible. This is the reality for quite a lot of high ticket business owners, and this is something that's been brought up. So if you don't know already, in this series, what we do is we allow business owners and salespeople to send in questions. You'll find the link in the description if you've got one similar that you feel like you would need or would benefit from a video being done of it. And this business specifically says they have amazing months. Like every year they break their record at some stage, but months after they don't. And they can't really put the finger on it. And it's like they'll go from one extreme, which is up here, great, let's spend way more money on ads. The next month, everything's down. And they're like, well, we just spent a load of money. All that extra money we made last month, we've now blown over the next 2 or 3 months because we couldn't replicate it. Why? And the fact that they're asking why is normally the biggest problem. Just so you know, my name's Adam Davies. I'm the CEO and founder of Sales Chief. We're a UK-based sales training, sales management, sales recruitment company in the high ticket space. We work with coaches, consultants, agencies, high ticket businesses, service-based businesses, and we help them grow, scale, add people to their team. If you find out a little bit more about what we do, there's a link in the description below. So just touching back on what we was talking about there, the biggest problem is why, right? If you don't know why your team's doing it, it's very, very difficult to fix. And this is one of the biggest problems that business owners face. What can't be tracked can't be fixed. So the fact that you cannot identify exactly what the problem is where the problem is. It's not necessarily your sales team. Well, it may be your sales team, but we can't actually identify that. So the first thing you need to do, just at a very, very minimal level, is track your key metrics. Most business owners track their cost per booking, their cost per sale, and maybe conversion rate from the sales rep, but that comes from the booking. So what we need to be adding a couple of extra metrics in there. So we need to be tracking the cost per booking. So we want to know how many bookings are going into your sales team's diaries. We like from leads to booking as well at the same time. So if you've got setters, then there's obviously more you want to track in there as well. But just assuming you've got like the company that we're speaking about here, it's from marketing straight to book a call. There's some stuff that goes on in the meantime, but the call to action from their marketing is straight into book a call, and they don't have any setters. So you're tracking your first thing, which is how many calls booked, so we can see how much that's costing you per booking. The next metric we need to track, and nobody ever tracks it, is cost per offer, and working out the percentage between bookings to offers. Because if that percentage is too low, we know that there's a quality issue coming through. There might be a sales issue that the sales rep's just not qualifying properly, but it's kind of unlikely. Good salespeople, and if you're having good months, they're good salespeople deep down, it's in there. They're not going to not pitch someone just for the sake of it. Might be a bit of a mindset issue. Might be like a protection to their close rate or something, but that's really, really unlikely. We need to monitor that metric, because what that's doing is pointing us in the right direction to take a look and identify. It makes it way easier. So we can now see that actually, for every 10 calls we book, we're only pitching to what's happening with the other 8. What's the reason the other 8 aren't being pitched? And it's probably going to be a qualification issue. We can now start to address that in the marketing and fix it. Gives you more consistency. Alternatively, and sometimes this is the case, out of those 10, 9 are showing up and we're pitching 7, which is actually quite good numbers. For every 10 calls we get booked, 70% of them are being pitched. But of those 70% being pitched, not many are being closed. It's a sales issue. It's a closing issue, right? We now know we can identify what that is. Let's say that we're tracking calls booked, calls offered, calls closed, and the close rate is judged based on the offer to close, not booking to close, because again, there's so many things that's outside the closer's control. What that means though, is the offer rate to the close rate should be 100%. It's never going to be. But if your salesperson's pitching them, it's because they've identified them as qualified financially, qualified as in there's a real need, desire, and want for your product or service. So in theory, you should close all of them, right? Obviously, it's not going to happen. The average close rate is going to sit anywhere, depending on so many different variables, what the process is to get the call booking, how many steps they've gone through, how many touch points, like how well known the owner and the brand is. Obviously, there's so many different metrics to judge that. But on average, it's going to be anywhere between 30 and 60%, for example, right? But really, in theory, it should be 100%. So let's say, for example, your team's doing decent and they're closing 50%. So for every time one of those qualified calls come through and they're closing at 50%, why did the other 50% not buy? So for every 10 calls that are qualified and in the diary, 5 of them aren't booking. 5 of them aren't actually closing. Why are those 5 not closing? There will be similarities and there'll be consistencies within that. It might be a specific objection. It might be something that's happening in a discovery. It might be an energy issue. Is the closer at a 10 out of 10? It could be lots of different things, but unless you can identify those things, and I'm going to put a little subtle plug in here for Ask Adam AI. So we've created an AI software which literally does this. The reason that we created the AI software is because we just didn't have the resources to listen to as many sales calls as the salespeople that we had. I would have had to hire God knows how many sales trainers to go through and just be constantly listening to sales calls all the time. Bear in mind, each call on average is like 40 minutes, right? So if we've got 30 different closers every single day making 5 calls, it's just physically impossible. So I've created an AI software which has actually gone way beyond what we ever expected it could do. But what it's going to do is judge every single call out of 10 and tell you why it wasn't a 10 out of 10 and give you actionable points that you need to improve on and probably the reason why that person didn't close. If you're putting the 50% that don't buy, put the 50% that do buy through, obviously, because there's always going to be improvements, but the 50% of people that aren't buying, you put those through, you'll literally see the consistencies that go through every single time. Even if you just use the ChatGPT equivalent, I'm sure you'll get some sort of idea, right? But then you've got identification. Now you know exactly what you need to work on with your sales team, rather than boring them with, this week we're going to go over objections, where they like, I know how to fucking handle objections. They switch off. They're mentally not in there, right? But if there's a specific objection where you're getting on to think about it till after, oh, you're going to leave it to the new year or something, like that's coming up quite a bit. At the time of recording, we're at the start of November. That comes up quite a bit this time of year, right? So the way you're going to handle it is earlier on in the conversation, in the discovery, ideally, with something like, look, you sound super motivated to kind of fix this now. Why is it such a priority now, and why not wait till after Christmas like everyone else seems to do? They'll tell you why it's a big priority right now. But your sales team might be getting that a lot. But you can't identify it unless you've identified it. Now you know exactly what to work on, and that might be responsible for an extra sale or 2 from each of your sales reps every single month. That's how you get that consistency. But unless you can identify, you can't fix it, because this is the big problem. When you're asking the question why, you're going to be firing blanks. You're going to be like, right, it's my sales team. All of this unnecessary pressure. Could have been your marketing all along. But now if you can identify it within your marketing and identify which stage, marketers aren't going to listen to sales reps that are saying the leads are shit. They're just numb to it. They've heard it a billion times before. They know sales reps are really emotional. And they are, by the way. They could have had the best week ever last week, and the law of averages are caught up and they're on a little bit of a slow week. Or just Meta's doing its thing as it normally does, where you can have little slow periods, right? The sales rep can be panicking, oh, my leads are shit and all that kind of stuff. But you're making drastic changes when it's probably going to bounce back in a day or 2. But now your marketing team, because they can see exactly what it is, and particularly if it is like a qualification issue or something, they can go and make changes with logic rather than just emotion. That's how marketers think. But also with your sales reps, if you're tracking everything, you can manage their ups and downs a little bit more as well, because you can see what's going on. I always liken sales to golf, because golf's got 1,000,000,001 different things going on all the time. For every different type of shot, you've got so many different thoughts going through your head. You've got so many different things that are happening at any one time. That's the same as sales. But the benefit that golfers have is they have a team of analysts and specialists that are reviewing every single round of golf that they're playing and picking up on the mistakes that golfer's making so they can correct them for the next day. Sales doesn't have that unless you get Ask Adam AI. So to summarize here, bad spells aren't completely random. There's normally a logical reason as to why you're having a bad spell. The problem is you can't identify it. So just put those key metrics in place, just those simple metrics. I mean, there's a ton more you can do, but just as a basic, make sure you're following those. So then you can identify where the hole is or the downfall of your funnel is, whether it's sales, whether it's actual marketing, and then you can go into identify and fix it and not just keep making constant changes and actually fuck up the whole funnel altogether. If you're enjoying this video, and if you're a business owner that does have a question, or a salesperson that has a question that they're struggling with time after time, and you feel like you'd benefit from getting it answered, down in the description box, there's literally a free link, a Google form, nice and simple. You can put your question in, the problem you're having, and we'll do a video off the back of this. You can keep it anonymous if you want to. You don't have to say who it is. If you'd want to come on and we can have a conversation, again, that's something I'm more than open to doing. But also, if you want to check out a little bit more about us, a little bit more about our content, firstly, what you can do is start by looking at this video right here. And secondly, in the description, there is a link to what we do, how we help businesses exactly like yours grow and scale their sales teams. So if you want to check that out, by all means do so.